and the heat is turning up on Long Island Republican Congressman George Santos. Santos is now the target of an investigation from the House Ethics Committee. It's appointed a panel to look into whether he's done anything illegal in his successful run for office. Santos says he'll fully cooperate.
Yeah, joining us this morning is Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman, who represents Lower Manhattan and parts of Brooklyn. So, Congressman, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
You too.
So, Congressman, you were one of the people, you were here on the morning news talking about this formal ethics complaint that you were filing. So what did you think, I guess, of the speed of which the complaint was seen and is now being handled in an investigation?
Well, my understanding is they actually moved quite quickly. They didn't have an organizing resolution until earlier this week or last week. So I'm pleased that it was a unanimous bipartisan vote by the House Ethics Committee to move forward with a full and formal investigation. And I'm eager for that investigation to happen as quickly as possible because the people of Nassau County and Queens County and the 3rd District of New York deserve to have meaningful representation in Congress. And right now they do not. They have a serial fraudster who is walking the halls of Congress.
I mean, let's be blunt here. I think everyone's heads are spinning with all of the allegations coming from all directions. So just lay it out for our viewers. So do you believe George Santos committed any crimes and lying about huge elements of his background and leaving questions about where his campaign funding came from?
Well, Congressman Torres and I focused on his financial disclosures and campaign finances as part of our complaint to the House Ethics Committee because at this point, that is really those are the laws that he may have violated. Lying about your name or your education or religion or employment history is not yet a law. Congressman Torres and I introduced a bill that would make that prohibited by law. So the financials are just glaring red lights for fraud and misrepresentation, ranging from where he mysteriously and miraculously got $700,000 to give to his own campaign to dozens and dozens of expenses at $199, just $1 below the limit. At which you need to provide documentation and receipts.
Yeah.
There's just so much there that needs further investigation. But we're focusing on the financials, and I believe the House Ethics Committee will focus on the financials because that is what might potentially be breaking the law.
Right, because there's two issues here, right? There's the moral issues. And then there's actually the legality of it all. But, you know, you're an attorney and you know that it has to be fact-based and evidence-based. And so at the end of the day, if there is evidence to show the money was not where it seemed, what is the end result of that investigation?
Well, the end result of the House Ethics investigation would be, you know, making their findings and potentially referring the matter to the full House to take it under consideration. We filed a resolution to expel George Santos because Speaker McCarthy and Elise Stefanik and other members of House leadership have not asked him to resign because they still want him in Congress for some unknown reason. And so the House Ethics report and referral would potentially lead to a full vote in the House if that doesn't happen beforehand. And so there's a lot that's unknown here. Of course, we don't have access to his financial documents. That's what he needs to provide to the House Ethics Committee if he is going to be fully cooperative, as he says he is.
Have you had any conversation with Representative Santos?
No, only when I delivered the complaint to his office and he was there.
Yeah, and how does everyone treat him then? I mean, we saw the interaction he had with Mitt Romney at the State of the Union.
Yeah, I mean, my sense of it is certainly the Democrats have nothing to do with him, but most of the Republicans have nothing to do with him either. And they try to avoid him. He's obviously not on any committees. So I don't know what he does all day, but he will be on the floor for votes, I guess. But I rarely see him on the floor, and I certainly don't see many people speaking to him. And it's quite clear that a lot of the Republican members want nothing to do with him. unfortunately, their leadership continues to embrace him. So,
Yeah.
he is part and parcel of the Republican Party.
Yeah, can you help us understand, I guess, more about the investigation, right? Because the headline, of course, is the House Ethics Panel opening up this investigation. Now, but what exactly does that mean in terms of, does he have to testify, right? And is it just on the financial matter? Because then there's those other allegations of groping a job applicant. So do we see that alleged victim is testifying before investigators? Does Santos testify before investigators?
Well, one of the obligations that every member of Congress has is to cooperate fully with any House Ethics Committee investigation. And so George Santos will have to turn over any document requests and he will have to provide information about his own conduct. And I do assume that the person who made the allegations of sexual harassment will be interviewed by
so it's not just about the
committee.
financials. They're going to go down the rabbit hole of the other allegations as well.
Well, yeah, and in their release, they indicated there
Yeah.
are 4 things that they will be investigating.
I know you don't have a crystal ball or anything, but what is your feeling on whether or not Representative Santos will be able to serve his whole term?
I mean, I think it would be an absolute travesty if he continued to remain in Congress despite his growing pile of lies and doubling down on those lies. He shows no remorse and has no explanation for it. The one thing I would point out, and I think it's important to keep this in mind, is that his own statements to this point have demonstrated that he lied on his financial disclosures, which is a violation of law. So you don't even really need an full investigation, although we would, of course, like to know where that $700,000 came from. But he has lied based on his own statements. You don't need to do a full investigation.
Yeah.
And so the fact that he remains in Congress, that he hasn't resigned, that he hasn't been asked to resign, or that he hasn't been expelled, if neither of those things will happen, is, it brings real shame and disrepute on Congress and those of us who are serving there.
Yeah, that's what, it's hard to say what's exactly, if they haven't asked him to resign yet, what exactly, if the House investigation comes out and you put it to a floor vote, Republicans do have the majority.
What's it going to take?
Yeah. I mean, in an expulsion vote, it requires 2/3 of the House.
Yeah.
So you would need, more than just a simple majority.
Right, exactly. All right, to be continued for sure. Keep us posted, all right? Thanks for coming on as always, Congressman Goldman. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.